My name is Mitch Benner, and we started this podcast to remove the stigma around sobriety from addiction.
My name is Aaron Nelson. Through our stories and the stories of our guests, we hope to help you find a new path. All right, welcome back to Shattered Darkness. We have one of the most exciting people we've had here in a while, because if you've been listening for a while, first of all, thank you. A lot of times we bring people on for their stories and how they got sober, but we have kind of a curveball for everybody in the best way possible. We have Miss Teresa Rose Armijo with us. And a lot of what you do is going to be new to our listeners, a lot of through handwriting and things like that. So I'm going to let you introduce what you do. And yeah, we're just super excited to have you. And as always, we have our best host / creator / founder.
Oh, stop it.
/ most passionate about this dude you're ever going to meet, Mitch Benner here.
Super happy to have you here, Teresa. This is a topic that I'm super excited. I like to write. I don't do it as much as I should or would like to, but I just want to read this title. So, how to use handwriting to shift limiting beliefs, increase sales, and attract more opportunities. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
I use handwriting to help people find out where their beliefs, their subconscious beliefs, aren't lining up with their conscious beliefs. And when we line those up, you show up more authentically. Most of our communication, we think it's talking. We're these little talking heads, but I would say more than 50% of the communication is coming from our heart. It's coming from our spirit. It's coming from our soul. And when you line what's going on in your soul with your goals, you become a magnet. Things just become easier in all aspects of your life. So it's no more white knuckling. It's no more, oh my gosh, I have to control myself. You start living with the spirit living through you because you're in alignment.
And that's funny because I know that is true because I've experienced it, and we've had a hard time putting that into words. You know what I mean? So, it's this. Yeah. And I've always kind of said, like, it's finding your purpose, right? Like finding that purpose that's outside of you, that's serving other people, serving the community, serving God, whatever that looks like. So, my biggest question is, how do you connect the subconscious to the conscious? Like, how does that process take me through that process? Because for me, when I was learning through rehab and all of those things, what was programmed into my subconscious, I didn't even know it was there, right? It took therapy. It took talking to psychologists and stuff to really unpack that. So I'm curious how that works.
So we're going to talk about some letters today, and I'm going to start with one letter. That we can tell a lot. One letter has multiple meanings. And we're going to start with the letter T. Okay. And the letter T can tell me a lot about how much energy they have, if they procrastinate, if they get things done, if they're sarcastic.
About how they write, how they
write a lowercase t, and how they cross that T bar. Where they cross it, I can tell where that first emotional hurt happened in their lifetime. And people are like, are you a psychic? I'm like, no.
That's kind of what it
I'm
feels
a handwriting analysis. But we can tell a lot about someone's handwriting. I mean, I can see, and this is awful, I can see if someone's truthful. I can see if someone's a crook. I can tell if someone's been in prison. There's something we call a felon.
So if I write a letter down on this paper, you could tell me a bunch of stuff like that?
And I really need a whole sample, but yes, okay. I can. And again, I don't use handwriting to be a fortune teller. I'm using handwriting to help people align their conscious and subconscious mind, to end the decision fatigue, to make a bigger impact in the world, to be who they came here to be, because our life is a gift from God. And what we do with our life is our gift to God and to the people around us. And so I'm not using it per se for fortune telling.
Right.
I'm using it because I'm like, hey, let's align our belief systems. And mantras didn't work for me.
Right.
I have my own path of my own addictions, and I've always worked with helping people. And why did some people get better and why did some people not? And part of it is those belief systems. But for me, writing it out didn't work. Mantras didn't work. And I knew that I was getting in my own way. And all of us are our own worst critics. All of us get in our own way. And when you can align those subconscious beliefs that are yours and come from your family, our Bible says, the sins of the father will be felt 7 generations. I have things that I had to clear out of my life that came from my family. Both sides of my family are from Italy. Both of them left Italy because they were poor and starving. My mom's side was from Sicily. My dad's side was from Calabria. And they came through Ellis Island because they were starving in Europe. And as a child, that was a story that we told about how our families immigrated. But that was part of my belief system. And I had to change that so that I could be successful and I could serve people instead of being a victim from that story. And it showed up in my handwriting.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's like I'm trying to think how I want to ask this. I completely agree, but I'm thinking about I didn't know what my subconscious belief system was.
We're not taught. Nobody's talking about this.
So how do you get to that point is what I'm saying. Because that seems like it's like the starting point, right? You got to figure out what that is in order to connect it to your conscious, correct?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, my story's pretty complicated and pretty long.
That's okay.
And I've always wanted to help people. I've always been in helping fields.
And you said you struggled with addiction. Do you mind if I ask you about that?
So my first addiction was a thumb sucker.
Okay.
I came out of that.
Yeah.
And I sucked my thumb off and on until I was in my 30s.
Wow.
I mean, it just wasn't, if you could stop, you can't cut your thumb off.
Right.
And, you would get the duct tape and you could buy all the apparatuses, and I tried all different things. And then when I have a degree in human nutrition and dietetics from Colorado State University. And as technology changed, dietitians were given privileges to run blood tests. And I had the privilege of running tests to find out what was causing dietary inflammation. And I had dietary inflammation. I had been diagnosed with having an autoimmune disorder. And I was a master at controlling myself and controlling the world around me. And I was teaching people how to do this, but this was part of my addiction because I had a hidden belief that was causing my body to attack myself. And my punishment wasn't cutting. It was, I couldn't, every year, less and less and less could I eat. And my addiction was torturing myself, but it wasn't, I would have fought you completely and totally. My hidden belief was that I hated myself. Yeah. And I didn't just hate myself. I loathed myself because life circumstances happened to me. And in my mind, this didn't happen to a good person, and it happened to me twice. And I had to look this straight in the face and go, I'm not a bad person. This is a part of my path. This is how I'm serving. God wouldn't have given this to me if I wasn't supposed to do something with this. But my initial knee-jerk reaction was, God, I must be a really bad person. A really bad person. Not only did this happen once, it happened twice.
Yeah. So because of this circumstance, and I'm making assumptions in my mind, but that created this belief system of I don't deserve happiness, love, whatever, because this doesn't happen to good people.
Correct. And I hated myself. And so this was my way of self-punishing.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, I have a brother that committed suicide on Harvard's campus. So not only was it not common to have suicide back then, but it was in a big, very known place. Our family and my brother's death made national news. We were on Dateline. We were on, there was an article, and there wasn't a lot about it, but that the story of the suicides on Harvard's campus, it was in Newsweek. It was in Time. It was on Dateline. We were in newspapers. This was a big thing. And
it's starting to make sense now.
And that I stood up and took care of my family. I was there when the phone call came, and I was led by God that morning. I woke up that morning and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but I went to my parents' house. We were living in the same town. I was supposed to meet a girlfriend to go hiking. And I said, hey, I'm going to grab bagels and cream cheese and let's meet at my parents' house. Let's have coffee there. Because I knew I had to be there. And she was there when the phone call came. And I had to literally pick her up and say, I'm sorry, we're having a family emergency, and push her out the front door. I'll contact you later. Now, she was someone that was a foreign exchange student. So English was not her first language. And so she didn't really understand what was going on. And I stood up for my family and I took care of everyone around me, but that was the beginning of it. Well, fast forward 10 years, my mom commits suicide. So not only did it happen once with my brother, it happened twice to me. So not only did I have the shame and the fear and the guilt and the grief.
So these are the circumstances that created this belief system.
That I was a bad person.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen to a good person. And I hated myself. And that my world kept getting smaller and smaller. And my personality changed. My trajectory in life changed.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine how that wouldn't, in those kinds of situations.
It brought me to God, but we weren't talking about, like, 30 years ago, we didn't have great resources for this. I mean, there was someone that was so kind and so nice that came in and said, hey, we're going to put you all on Prozac. We're going to put you all on serotonin receptor inhibitors because this happened to you. Well, I tried taking them. I couldn't take them. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I mean, like, it was a disaster and it made me numb. And my brother had been struggling with depression. This happened in January. His death happened in January of 1995. And he was home for Christmas. And he was struggling, and he was openly struggling, and he didn't know what was wrong with him. And they put him on antidepressants. And I remember him saying, hey, T, it's worse to feel nothing than to feel the pain, because he was talking about these drugs that they put him on. And again, we knew nothing about this back then. And I don't know if we know a lot about it now. I know about it walking behind it. I don't know about it from a medical standpoint.
Yeah.
But my experience was it. And so when when someone came in and didn't know anything about us and just handed us these pills like candy, hey, you guys need to be on this.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick. Just thank you for bringing that up. Not to get too far into anything we're going to say with your story, but I mean, we met in a place that I think we might mutually agree on this, but pills, I know this is, not a lot for anybody. I swear to God, you should never take pills unless you absolutely have to. I think doctors are trained to just, you go in, they give you a pill for whatever it is. I don't think they treat things how they're supposed to be treated.
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit on that, because I interacted with my doctors, and I'm on medication, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, but I interacted with my doctors, like, on a level of, like, I tried this for a month. This is exactly how I feel. Like, I don't like this because it's not allowing me to feel this or do this. I was like, really, I needed something that took away this ball of, like, anxiety.
It took the edge off.
Yeah. And but it was also taking away the positive parts of my personality. Right. So I worked very closely with my doctors to find the right prescription, and I changed it a lot until I found something that was like, okay, I still feel like I'm myself, but I'm not struggling with these high amounts of, like, negative emotions, and negative anxieties or whatever. The world doesn't seem like it's coming down on me all the time. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that if you're going to do it, like, don't just go into a doctor and be like, hey, I'm depressed. And then there's a crap load of different things that you can try, and it works. It works really well for me. And, I don't know. I mean, if my doctor told me I could take them forever, if it's some, but you just reevaluate that kind of stuff. But I think it takes a lot of personal accountability as well, right? Like, hey, this is exactly how I feel. This is what's going on, communication. And I was able to land on some medication that I feel like is really helping me.
That's great. So I'm a dietitian, and you have different makes and models of cars. We have different makes and models of bodies.
Mm-hmm.
We're not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a totally different kind of fuel in a sports car than you do a Mack truck.
Totally.
And then there's all the vehicles in between.
That's a great analogy.
Okay. And then now we have diesel cars. You could put petrol fuel in a diesel tank. It's going to smoke and jerk and not do well. And then we have electric cars. And so I think knowing our make and models, and when you connect your conscious and your subconscious mind, you become a super sensor. Like, you're aware of who you are. And that's why I'm so passionate about, I'm not using handwriting to be a psychic or for court cases or HR. Oftentimes, you can see in someone's handwriting if they're a theft, if they're a procrastinator, if they're going to get their work done, the psychology of how you're going to have to work with this person to get them to do the job. And in today's day and age, our workforce is not great. We're not training people to go out in the workforce. And so you can use handwriting for that. I'm using handwriting to help lift your self-esteem and self-worth, to connect your conscious and your subconscious mind so that you can be authentically you, so that you can serve to the maximum you can serve. And when you're in that flow of serving, and when your subconscious and conscious beliefs are in alignment, you are the flow. You're not in the flow. You're not swimming beside the flow. And so my reason for playing with handwriting and looking at your belief systems is to help people to align to be the best version of them.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's
And
incredible.
That's where you're going to keep going. And I just want to say, again, I wasn't looking to mess you up by any means with that. I know you didn't take offense, but here's my thing.
And that's the thing, dude. Everybody has the different opinions and different ideas, right? Like,
but
that's awesome.
I am growing more and more aware of kids just getting grown up, and then they don't love themselves, and then they get put on pills. We see it way too often. And I think outdoors for one, getting off screens for two, and then try something different, identifying handwriting, whatever it is, connect yourself so that you can learn to love yourself and be happy with yourself, and not rely on pills or doctors or all this junk.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from. And that's why I love that you're here. And that intro was perfect. So I'm going to shut up now and let you go, because this stuff I'm all jazzed up.
Well, and for a positive note, they're bringing cursive and handwriting back in school.
I did just hear that.
Okay, yeah. And they're doing it nationally. And I'm a lot older than you guys. I'm 57.
You're not that much older.
And, we had cursive in school. But in the 70s, they started taking cursive out of school. And people who write cursive and handwriting mixing, it's a good thing. But when you write cursive, you're connecting, and it does something to your brain.
That is so crazy
different.
to think. I'll literally change my handwriting style 3 or 4 times a year. So I'll write in cursive. I'll just write regular. And then sometimes I'll write in all capital letters. Like, I'll change my actual handwriting style. And
our handwriting changes from in the morning than it does in the afternoon.
Right.
But there's characteristics we can see in someone's handwriting and say, hey, this is something you can do exercises with, and this is something we can change in your handwriting. And so for me, I had all these diagnostic tests as a dietitian, and I had all these limitations, and I was able to not go on pharmaceutical drugs, but I was driving everyone around me crazy because I was so controlled. I was controlling myself. I was controlling the environment around me, and I was very judgmental. And I'm like, I have willpower. It's not about having willpower. It's about allowing the creator to flow through us. Right. And when I was living in willpower and being controlling, I was blocking that energy off.
Well, you're in the driver's seat, right? Like, mentally, in that scenario, you're in the driver's seat of life, right? And you're like, I can do this. I'm going to do everything. And you tend to just bring that stuff in and then not do anything with all the negativity, right? And you're like, and then you end up white knuckling it, like you said.
Yeah. And so again, I use handwriting to help people align their belief systems so that they can be authentic and that life becomes easier, and that my life has changed because I'm open to allow the creator to flow through me, and opportunities come to me. How Aaron and I met. We just met in Cheyenne, Wyoming at this guy's house, and we just started having this conversation. It was a divine moment.
Amen.
It was like, let go and let God.
Yeah.
And that when I changed this about my handwriting and it changed in my energy, I'm no longer in control. God is in control, because my goals and my subconscious beliefs are aligned so that I can be open to the goodness in life instead of me controlling everything. Instead of me breaking down on the road, I'm going to go back to the car analogy because Americans, we love our cars.
I sell cars, by the way, in case you're curious. I'm just kidding.
Cool.
Well, County Garage, go see him. He's the man.
You break down on the side of the road, you got a flat tire. And instead of me being out on the side of the road and fixing it myself, I need to be open to having someone stop and help me. I know how to change a tire, but boy, it's sure a lot easier when people are going down the road 65, 75 miles an hour where I have help, that I'm broke down on the side of the road. And we were put here to help one another. But when I was in white knuckling it, my energy was like, no, I got this. Mm-hmm. I was keeping people at arm's distance because the energy, the vibe I was putting out, and it wasn't something verbal. I'm like, hey, why isn't anybody helping me?
Why?
Because I hated myself and I didn't think I deserved help.
And can I ask you where that came from? Was it because of what happened in your family?
Yeah. I mean, this doesn't happen to good people. And 30 years ago, it wasn't common. Now, today, it's super common,
Yeah,
which
unfortunately.
breaks my heart. It happened twice in my family.
So it was the stigma, kind of the social stigma around an event like that I'm understanding kind of where your mental process
Well,
comes
and
from.
so 30 years ago, people would see us
Right.
coming, and it was like deer in the headlight. Like,
'Cause
oh
they
my
didn't-
God,
they didn't
there's the
wanna talk-
Armijo
yeah,
family.
They didn't want to talk
like,
about it.
Like it was more painful for them than it
Right.
was for us.
Right.
And our whole family moved out of the area that we were living in about a year after this happened because it was so uncomfortable. It was such a taboo.
Gosh, that's crazy.
And we, not only did this happen to us and we had our own guilt and our own fear and our own shame and we had the grief, like, oh my gosh, like talk about having your breath taken away. But then people would see you coming. And I mean, I had a girlfriend that was like, don't tell people when you meet new people, don't tell them about your story. People are going to think you're unstable. They're going to think, don't tell an employer that this happened to you. Well, now at this point in my life, I'm 30 years behind it. And people are like, oh my God, like, how did you walk behind that? Like, it's so common. And I have people that I went to junior high and high school with that are like, my niece did this or my kid did this, and reaching out to me now, like, you walked through this with no support. And there was support. I'm not saying there was no support, but we didn't know as much about it. But now that I'm 30 years out and 20 years out, and I can look back on my life, I'm like, wow, I had things that I had control of that I did not know that I had control of because we weren't talking about this. And having faith is what pulled me through. But the faith wasn't enough. I had to change from within so that the Creator could work through me.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Personal accountability.
It was personal accountability, and we didn't have these tools. We didn't talk about this. And so and it was a wound. It is a wound. And It's not a wound anymore. I mean, I wear it as a badge. Like, I walk through this and I'm here to help other people. Yeah. And I focus on helping salespeople. I help everybody. I mean, I've helped people with addiction. I've helped people. There's a woman that I've worked with, and her whole life changed around. She was sexually abused by a principal from the time she was in middle school to the time she graduated from high school. And she's in her 30s. And she's like, wow, working with you was better than any kind of talk therapy because she had control on how fast this is, how fast it happened. We can't change someone's handwriting overnight, but we can start with three different letters. We can start with, you have to start small. You can't just rip the Band-Aid off. This is a process. And if you're dedicated to it and you're willing to put the work in, you can change this. And so today, I'm going to talk about 3 different letters that we can hopefully put together like a PDF for your listeners.
Okay.
That we can change in their handwriting. We can give them an exercise, and that they can play with this. They can do it themselves.
Okay. Because I'm curious, like...
I mean, I can talk about my story all the time, all day long, but I want to give you guys juicy content. Like, I want to give you things that we can do to help people.
Let's do it.
That's exactly why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We're here to help people.
I kind of want to go through like a practice or whatever. Like, I kind of want to see how you do this. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Well, I'm not going to analyze your handwriting today. Is that what you're asking?
Kind of.
Because I really
wants to know how awesome he is.
He wants to know how awesome he is. And I can tell him how awesome he is. I mean, I can tell a little bit by someone's handwriting, but I'm more interested in giving changes.
Okay.
I'm more interested in saying, let's get some juicy content. So the first letter is the letter T.
T?
T.
Okay.
And T's are about self-esteem and self-worth. Okay. But T, I can tell if you're a procrastinator. I can tell how much energy you have getting your work done. I can tell if you have a temper.
Like if I just write the letter T?
I just need a whole bunch of them. Anyway,
we're not going to do the analysis now.
I'm sorry.
I know you want to get to it.
It's so interesting.
He doesn't procrastinate.
I
just wants to get after it.
No, he doesn't procrastinate. You can see that. So, and the listeners aren't going to be able to see me on
It's okay. Now. Either I'll move the camera or I don't know. You can hold it up to the camera.
So most of the time the letter T is made like this, right?
Okay.
Look at
here. Let me see that. Let me see it. That was not
your phone right there.
Okay. So right there. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So that's how you're saying most people write
the letter. Most people write the letter T.
Okay.
And the line across the T, that's our arms.
Okay.
And you're walking around going like this. Well, wouldn't you rather walk around going like, hello, I'm here. I have the best self-esteem and self-worth.
Yes.
And your third grade teacher, that's where you really, like, you learn how to write in kindergarten and first grade, but really third grade is when they really hone in
Right.
on penmanship. Your third grade teacher taught you to write like this. But when you change your T, you make the T and you go all the way across on the top, and it looks like you're making a capital T. You're throwing your arms up in the air. I have good self-esteem. I have good self-worth. And you make the bar on the top go across both sides. You don't want it to go more on the other, more on one. You want it to go across.
Okay.
Okay. So you want, and you got to tell your third grade teacher, I love you. You did a good job teaching me. I'm changing the T. It looks like a capital T. It's not a T. It's not that kind of a T. We're raising our self-esteem. We're raising our worth. We're getting rid of all of those little hurts from the past. So all of that, like where the T-ball crosses, all those like little stupid things that we hold on to from the second and the third grade. And I was playing kickball and someone said something to me. We all have it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that girl, she made fun of my lip color. My lip gloss was the wrong color pink, or, girls, we want to raise that T-bar to get rid of all of that stuff that's not important. And to raise our energy. Conductors, like symphony conductors, they live the best life. They have the best hearts because they put their hands up over their heads. I'm a professional window washer part-time because I love making a clear view for the world, but I love working with my hands above my head, and it raises my heart rate. I get paid to work out versus going to the athletic club. I have an athletic club membership. I would much rather do window cleaning and put my hands above my head because I feel better.
That's so interesting.
So when you make your T with your hands above your head, you're saying, here I am, world. And so what we can do for an exercise is you're going to do 10 down.
I'm doing this.
And 10 across.
And while you're doing that, you prefer this to be done on paper.
Yes.
For the listener, I have a remarkable, which I love, by the way, but for this, pad and paper.
Yeah, and
or
I
pad
like
and pen.
Black ink, because black means as you mean it. So pad and paper, black ink. Blue ink is a little bit like black. When you're doing this, we want to get the most out of it. And I want you to make T's with your T crossed at the top, not in the middle, all the way, 100 of them. So not only will this raise your self-esteem and self-worth, this exercise will give you 8 hours of consistent energy. So if you do this too late at night, you're going to be cursing me because you're not going to be able to fall asleep. No. I need you. I want it to come up. And down.
I can't. Okay.
I want a T. I want both sides.
I gotcha.
So a cursive T is what you're...
I want a cursive T. And you can just do it with regular T's, but the way you're doing it, I want it to come from... You could do it like this.
So real quick, can we show that for video for those that are on Spotify and YouTube?
So I'll hold up my paper when I get my numbers so you guys see how to set it up. Okay, so this is how we set it
Well,
up.
let's show T's here because
it's
you did great, but the mistake that you made, I don't want to get confused.
So we want the T's to be, I don't know if
like that.
Yeah, but that sharp point, that's showing sarcasm. We don't want it to be.
Come on, dude, she's being serious.
I'm trying.
I know, I'm joking.
Can you see that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it'll work.
And we're gonna put a PDF. We're gonna work together to put a PDF out, and I want you to make the stem closer together.
Okay, I'm trying.
I'm being picky here.
This is amazing.
See how my T's, how they're close together. That pull goes up.
Okay.
Now, for what we're trying to do here is you're really trying to perfect this letter.
Yes.
Now,
and this is an exercise that we're doing right now. You want to change this in your handwriting if you can, but you want.
I know. I'm trying.
Do it slow. This is not a race.
Okay.
Do it slow. Do it deliberate.
Oh God.
And try to make that come down to the Try to make it come down.
Like that.
Yeah, like that. That's perfect. Do it slow. Do it deliberate. So if you do this, I am very caffeine sensitive, so I can't have caffeine after like 9 in the morning. But if I do this at lunchtime, I have great energy the rest of the day.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so you can do this to help control your energy. You're raising your self-esteem. You're raising your self-worth. You're getting rid of those old hurts. And by crossing the T strong like you are, you're giving energy to getting stuff done in the world. Like this is one letter. And we're, like I said, my focus is doing this to help people improve their lives.
All right, I'm going to do it now too while you're doing that. I know I'm supposed to be on pad and paper, but this is awesome.
But just practice it. And if you can't do it on pad and paper, that's fine. I mean, sometimes I'm driving and I'll have my hands on the steering wheel and I'll just take my finger and do it on my steering wheel. I'll do my exercises on my steering wheel. But I actually take a pen to paper every morning. I get up, I make my coffee, I play my song because I play uplifting songs in the morning, and I sit down and I do my handwriting exercises. And it's just part of my day.
For a longest time, I would get up and write 25 affirmations. Well, they would be the same. Like I'd write the same one 25 times.
Did it work for you? Because it never worked for me.
Not really. Honestly, my mind would get into a place where I was like, okay, like I was trying to get done as quick as I could. Like I was trying to get it accomplished so I could just check it off the list, So my mindset wasn't in the right place for it. Like I wasn't actually thinking about applying that affirmation to my life.
So T is great for raising your energy. It's great for getting things done. Make that T bar on the top crossed equally on both sides if you can.
I have horrible handwriting, so.
No, you don't. So this is just one great letter that's really helpful in recovery. Because when you're in recovery and you're going through that detox and you're exhausted and you've got body pains, because we all know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's food or it's a drug or it's drinking or if it's even playing video games, your body goes through a detox. And so this tea helps with the energy to get through that detox, but it's going to help with constant energy during the day. It's going to lift your self-esteem and self-worth, and it's going to help you get stuff done. Does that make sense? And that's why I'm giving tea.
Okay.
Are you ready for the next letter that we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, it's D.
D.
D is in dog.
Okay.
Or in dad. And we're going to do the same exercises with the D, but we want to make the D like this. I'm going to make a D wrong.
Okay, so not like that.
So not the typical print lowercase d?
Not with the loop on it. And let's see. Can you hang that up? Point to the one with the loop.
Okay, so this is the one with the loop. That's what you do.
We don't want that. That loop is a backpack that you're carrying all your old hurts in. You want that D to have the stick come up straight. So show them the right ones.
Oh, this D I wrote earlier doesn't have that backpack. That makes me feel good.
And you want the D, the circle of the D, to be closed without any loops in it.
Okay.
So again, you want that D to be closed and smooth without any loops.
That was pretty good. I felt good.
That's good.
I feel good about that one.
And again, we want to change it in our handwriting, but we want to do exercises. You want to practice making the D. But that loop is like carrying all that emotional garbage that's not yours from the past, those little stupid hurts that we don't want and need.
Like that?
Like that.
There's a Japanese letter that looks exactly like this T, and it's driving me nuts. I studied Japanese for a while.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Yes. Ohio. I was just doing it on my phone.
No, I was just saying good morning.
Oh, I know. No, I know exactly what you're saying. I was trying to say something back. The only thing I could think of is a kohi o kudasai or a jutsu kudasai. That's just a little joke in our family.
Are you fluent?
No, I just
No.
You want that bar on the top to go straight across. You don't want it to be an umbrella. You want it to go straight across. And again, we're going to put together a PDF for your listeners to download.
Dude, I like those D's.
Keep it closed.
Yep. Oops.
So while he's working on that, if you want to briefly describe how did you come across this as a practice for you?
I am just curious. And I am relentless, and I'm not one to give up on things. And I knew that there was things in my personality that I needed to change. And I just prayed about it. And I found someone that is kind of retired that used to do this, used to teach handwriting and do handwriting analysis. And I contacted him and was like, listen, I'm like, I love this. Like, I know that I need this. And that I was working on this self-hatred. It's been a journey, let me tell you. And although I don't have the markers for autoimmune disorder anymore, I could still see the drama. Part of being an addict, we create drama.
Yeah.
We need that drama, that adrenaline rush. That's part of why we want to do the tea this way, to get energy, authentic energy, instead of those adrenaline rushes. That's what tea did for me. The tea really helped me get over that adrenaline rush of drama. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I knew I was controlling, and I controlled myself and was trying to control the world around me. And I was no fun to be around. I didn't like being with me. And so I knew that there was other ways. I tend to be open. As a dietitian, there's a lot we can do with food and biochemical testing. And I knew that there was alternatives. And although I have family members that are doctors, and I have, I'm so super sensitive. I'm like, if you give me an Advil, I get dopey. Like, my body just doesn't do well with those kinds of things. I'm really sensitive. I'm really sensitive to also electronics. I have to use a cell phone. I have to use a computer, but I'm very electromagnetically sensitive. I'm just a really sensitive person. So I'm always turning over stones and looking for the next thing to help me so that I can be the best version of me. And so it was just, I think it was an act of God.
That's amazing.
And so far, so God. That's how I found this.
Nice.
And I studied it. There's tons of books out on it. There's some books that I think are better than others. And as I started applying it in my life and playing with friends and doing things, and people started noticing things differently in me. Friends were like, well, did you do something different? Are you taller? Like, you seem happier. Like, people started noticing that I was changing. And I started noticing things like, people were holding the door open for me. Like, wow, I'm supporting myself and the world is supporting me. And back in the day, you'd go to the grocery store and you'd have like two things in your little cart, and someone in front of you would have a whole load full, like a big cart full of stuff. Yep. And people would say, oh, why don't you go ahead of me? You only have a few things. Like, stuff like that started happening to me again. Like, not only did I feel different in my body, and I was experiencing the energy in my body differently, but the people around me were treating me differently. And I was like, wow, like, wait a minute, this stuff is working. And my relationship started to change, started getting more invitations, started being what I call magnetic, like that for the sales part of, I felt like I became more magnetic, and it was easier. No, I'd never have liked saying no, but it was easier to say, I think I'm going to pass no, and not try to sugarcoat things and not try to not hurt someone's feelings. It was like, it was finally okay to say no. I thought it was crazy that, this whole time I was kind of a codependent and not wanting to say no to people. And now I'm like, I can say no. No, that doesn't work for me. I'm like, I'm glad that works for you. No. And I can say that with confidence and not worry about hurting someone's feelings, because my feelings have been so hurt because someone told me no back in the past.
I love that. Your output is your input. And if you're constantly saying negative things to yourself, for example, I think negative comes out. And if your input, like whatever you're looking on your phones and all the things, I think that really exudes either positivity or negativity in your life.
Well, and I mean, at some point, because I'm looking at this whole thing, and it's a practice to put your mind in the right place, right? It's a practice to understand your subconscious, connect that to your conscious mind in an effort to live authentically, right? And this is one of multiple ways that you can kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah, this is just one way that worked for me. And because I saw such an impact, I'm like, wow, how can I use this to help other people? And so
it's got to go farther than just letters, correct? Like, could you take something that I wrote and analyze that?
Yeah, we can take what you wrote. We could take children's scribble, and I can see what's going on by how a child draws a picture. I'm not great at that because I haven't studied that as much.
Right.
But you can do that. You can, how someone doodles. Like you can definitely, give me someone's doodles, and I can definitely say, this is what I think this is saying, and you can tell. Okay, so I'm a heavy handwriter. I have a lot of energy. But people who have light handwriting, they have less energy. You can tell how much energy someone has by how dark and how that pen goes on the paper. If someone's really angry, you're going to feel it with your fingers. You can tell how someone's writing. By the slant, you can tell my controlling and being controlled, what showed up in the slant of my letters. And I had to change the slant of my letters. And that was really hard for me because for so many years, that was my defense mechanism. For 30 plus years, I had become controlling. And the older I got, the more controlling I became. So changing that in my handwriting, it was hard work.
Yeah.
But I knew that slant, the way I was slanting all of my writing, was making me be controlled and controlling in my life, and it was repelling the people around me. It was really hard to be in relationship with me. I didn't like being in relationship with me because everything was so strategically planned out. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How big someone writes. If someone writes flourishly, like, look at me. I don't have a lot of flourishes in my handwriting, but I tend to have a medium size. We want to have medium pressure and medium size. You don't want to be too big and you don't want to be too little. Someone who has really little handwriting, they could have a lot of hurt and they don't want to be heard. They don't want to be seen. They are going to be shy. Now, if you're an introvert and it's not so excessively small, it's okay because we have different, like diversity is really important.
Right.
But you can tell by the way the letters and the size and how hard, like it all plays together. It's not just one thing. You have to see a sample of someone's handwriting to see what's going on with them. So you're like, oh, let me like this one letter. And I'm like, it's not that simple.
Right.
We're whole beings.
Right.
And I don't know if I can draw this out. So how we make our letters. So we have middle letters like A, E, and I. That's the middle of the body. And I draw a little stick person here. And then we have L, K. That's the top part of the body. And then we have G and J. So these are our legs. This is the top part of our body. This is our head. And this is the middle part of our body. And I don't know if you want to hold that up. And we'll put together a graphic that we can give to your, like we're going to put together a nice PDF. I'm going to email you some stuff. We're going to put together a nice PDF for your listeners. But that how you write it represents what's going on in your body. And like the middle zone, like a lot of my stuff was like food stuff. My middle zone was really clogged. And again, I go back to analogy of technology that we use. It's like having a washing machine, an old fashioned washing machine that you stuff all your clothes in, a top loader, and it's so full, it goes, and nothing moves. The water can't even get in there and you can't clean your clothes. And I had so many negative emotions in my gut, in my digestive system that were not processed. That was that hate. And it was like festering, it was bubbling and nothing was moving. And it was like being in a rocking chair. There was movement. It was movement, but you weren't going anywhere. There was a lot of movement, but you're like a hamster on a wheel. And I had to clean that up in my handwriting to clean it up in my life. So I liked being with me. So other people would like being with me. And so the T is the whole body in your arms and you're raising your arms. The D, we're closing the backpack. We're not carrying all those rocks of all those stupid hurts that were nothing. And then the next letter I'm going to give you is E. And you want your E to have an open spot in it. So I'm going to make a couple E's. You want your E's because when you're open to change and you're open to the blessings in the world. And so we're going to do the same thing with E. And you can make a cursive E or you can just make an E. And so you can hold, these are good examples of E's. You want your E to be open. You don't want your E to be closed. Put the closed E. because you're not open to the newness in the world. You're not open to the different emotions. You're not open to letting go of emotions. You're not open to receive emotions. I don't know if you want to hold that up. And again, we're going to get you guys we're going to put together a really good PDF for your listeners to download for free. And so these are the three that when I've worked with people with addiction, these are the three starting points that I always give them. We want to raise your self-esteem and self-worth, and we want to get rid of those past hurts. We want to stop carrying that backpack of old hurts around, and we want to be open to the goodness of life.
So while we're going through this practice, are you having that person or whatever think about those kinds of things?
You can.
Or is it like trying to relate?
I mean, I like to tell people why they're doing this, and what they choose to do at home, I have no control over.
Right.
But that, you can say, I'm writing my open. I'm open to new opportunities. I'm open to healing. I'm open to change.
Right.
You have to be open to change.
Yeah.
And so that's why the E is so important. Getting your energy up, especially when you're detoxing. Oh my gosh. Like, detoxing is probably the hardest part because you're so miserable and the pain.
So I have a question just because I'm curious now. I didn't even think about it. I heard what you said, but I just wrote these E's just as I feel. What is that? Does that clue you into anything?
Well, we need to close the E. So you see how that it doesn't, like, there's a gap.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to close those E's so you can be open to receiving, but holding on to the goodness that you're receiving. You see how there's that gap right there? And your listeners, we might edit this part out.
You're all messed up, dude.
I know, man.
Hey, we're all a work in progress. We came to experience what God couldn't experience without us being here. Right?
Yep.
And we're all perfect, and we're perfectly learning. And as long as you're open and still willing to learn, to see how there's a space for something to come in, but it's closed.
Yes.
Do you see the difference?
Yep.
Interesting.
And I know this is crazy, but it works. It worked for me. I've seen it work for other people. It's a slow process. It's not an instant. Okay, so in our society,
and I was going to ask too, do you do this every day for an extended period of time? Like,
I like to encourage people to stick with the 3 letters for 3 weeks.
Okay, like a week a letter, or all 3 for 3 weeks?
You can choose 1 to 3 letters. I would not change I wouldn't do the exercises for more than 3 letters at a time. And some of the things, it took me a long time to change in my handwriting. Some things are harder than others, and it just depends on the person.
So why do you think this works?
Why do I think it works?
Or how do you like?
How do you know it works?
Yeah, like. Sorry, maybe that was I phrased that question. Like, how do you, I guess, quantify it? You know what I mean?
You could look up online. You can Google graphology. That's the study of handwriting and what it means. And they've been using graphology for hundreds of years. It's just that it's not modern. It's not sexy because it's not technology.
Right.
And so,
but it's simple.
It's simple and it's empowering. It's a pen and paper. A homeless person can go to the bank and get a free pen, and go to the dollar store and get a piece of paper. Now, a homeless person more than likely is not going to do this. Okay. And I do volunteer with the homeless people. I don't think they're going to do it because their mindset's a little bit different, but this is not expensive. This is not, and it's something that you have control over. And I mean, I was on the phone with a girlfriend last night, and she was telling me her story, and it was really drama. And I was just like, stop. You've got to stop. Like, every time you're telling the story, you're wiring this into your nervous system.
I agree.
And you're being drama. I'm like, what are the facts? Let's break it down. What are the facts? Like, the story can be 2 sentences. And I got off the phone with her, and before I went to bed last night, I saw drama marks in my handwriting, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And I'm like, oh, I had this conversation with my girlfriend last night, and I got into it, and I was into the drama of it, and I'm like, wait a minute, we've got to stop. Like, we started this drama thing, and like, I don't want drama in my life. Like, and the story is not even important. It was just about her getting her energy up. And I was like, wait a minute, we've got to stop. We need to be accountability buddies. But I saw it in my handwriting. And so this morning, after I did my handwriting exercises, I sent her a quick text. I'm like, hey, that drama, how we both got we got our energy up wound up, it showed up in my handwriting last night, and I saw it and I was like, oh my God, that's a drama. Like, I'm falling back into the drama. And I made corrections because it was a way of me measuring where I was at.
Exactly. So that is a very great example of how this kind of. So I'm like, how do I apply this to my life, right? Like that's kind of where I'm trying to get with this. But that's a great story because you have that conversation, you go do the practice, and you notice like, oh my gosh, my letters look different. I see this, and then it triggers your mind to be like, why? Right? Like now your mind is triggered. You're like, why am I seeing this there? Oh, I had this conversation with my friend. Now you can go back to your friend, right? And be like, hey, I recognize this based on my handwriting. So this is something that you probably start to recognize over, like you said, over an extended period of time.
Yes. And so this is another story. This is funny. The E. I drink a little bit, but I don't drink a lot. My family made wine growing up, again, coming from an Italian family. I just don't feel good when I drink.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't.
I don't usually.
And I have friends that I go to their house and they always have good wine and we always have good food and they always want me to drink. And I'm like, no, I don't want any wine. And everybody kept on asking me, do you want some wine? And I'm like, no. And I closed down. And then the next day I was looking at my handwriting and my E's got small because I was saying no to having a drink.
And it felt uncomfortable.
And I closed down because I didn't want to have a drink. And my addictions were never drinking. Like for some reason, I don't know how or why. I mean, like my first addiction was sucking my thumb.
Yeah.
I had a lot of food addictions, and that's what eating disorders are. I had food addictions. You can't not eat. And I think that my relentlessness of wanting to know how to help myself and how to help other people came from the things that I had addictions to. I had no control over. Now, I do have control over the drama, and I really don't keep people in my life that are really drama queens. And like my friend group really has changed because I'm like, I don't get my energy from that dopamine high from drama.
Right.
And I talk about this a lot with people. You know, there's a difference between happiness and pleasure, and everything in our society right now, all of the social media, all the advertisings, the new cars, the new this, that being on your phone, that dopamine rush of how many people liked my stuff. Like that's a dopamine rush. Playing that video game, that's a dopamine rush. Like there's so many amazing movies and things on YouTube and stuff to distract us. And that's pleasure. It's not true happiness.
Right.
And when I made the decision that I want to be happy and stop chasing pleasure, I knew I needed more help in my life. I knew I needed more structure, and that this tool helped me to stand in happiness.
Absolutely.
Making the choice of happiness versus that quick fix, that pleasure, because everything is pulling us in pleasure. And that pleasure is what causes that decision fatigue. At least it does in me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
And so by having this as a tool and doing it and using it in my life, and I mean, I don't know, I have like 20 books at home on handwriting analysis. And again, some of them are great and some of them are just like really bad. And then working with this woman that's almost in her 80s, I'm like, wow, I can see using this as a tool. And handwriting is coming back across the nation. There's a lot of states and a lot of schools that are bringing back cursive. And when we write in cursive, we're more together. We're not block printing and being separate. And right now, and we know this after 2020, that connectiveness and being together is more important now than ever. And that's why I was so excited. I'm like, I get to come to the studio. Like, we're not going to do this on Zoom. And I do Zoom talks. Like, I don't have a problem. If someone hears me today and says, hey, I want you to talk to my mom's group. I want you to talk to I want you to talk to my church group. I want you to talk to my sales group. I want you to talk to our teenagers. I will do
whatever.
Yeah. I'll do a Zoom call. I'll do a video call. I'll get in my car. I'll drive somewhere to do a talk because I think it's important that we tell our stories. And for so many years, I was ashamed to tell my story. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like the way people are dying is not acceptable to me. That we need to be talking and we need to be together. And so.
And you guys, and you said you're 57, you came from a generation, like you've said multiple times throughout this, like, and you guys experienced it from the public, right? Like, hey, let's put this over here in the corner because that's just too hard to talk about. Your situation with your brother and your mom and, things like that. And, sorry, I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but, yeah, I mean, that all makes a lot of sense, like how you're structuring this and how you're looking at it. And the daily practice of letters and this and that, and then seeing little differences and what that means. I mean, it's all very, very interesting.
Yeah. And so if I can share this with people to help them improve the quality of their lives, and, you're not just selling a car because you're a salesperson.
Right.
But you're selling to your kids. We're examples for our kids. And again, only a small percentage of our communication is our words. And so when our heart and our mind are aligned, we're more influential in everything we do. When we walk into that grocery store and we say hi, and we're kind to that checker behind the stand that I couldn't make my dinner if they weren't there, but they're paid horribly. And people are rude to them. Yeah. And I appreciate them. And I've worked in a grocery store. And when I'm driving down the road and that person's standing on the road holding that stop or slow sign, I always wave to them and send them a good greeting.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate them, because they're fixing our roads and I can drive through this road. And so it's coming at life from a different point of view.
Yes.
Rather
it's
than being
reframing
irritated and I have no energy. I was really sick, chronic fatigue. Major chronic fatigue, depression and anxiety. And, oh my gosh, I've got to wait in my car to get to my place. And now I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful this person's here. I don't have to take a detour. I can get through here. And it's reframing who you are and where you are. And I'm like, wow, my energy's getting low. I know I can raise my energy without putting anything in my mouth.
Yeah.
I can change my biology. And it's more complicated than these three.
Absolutely.
It's way more complicated than these 3 letters than I've given you today. These are good starting letters.
Yeah. But it all does make sense, right? If you look at the whole practice from a bird's eye view, it makes a lot of sense.
It's a feedback system.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a feedback system, and it's a feedback system that I never really realized.
Kind of a checks and balances, hey, this is where I'm at, spiritually, emotionally kind of thing. And is that kind of how you're using a checks and balances system for yourself?
Yeah. No, yeah. And I mean, you can tell how spiritual someone is by their handwriting.
That's crazy.
You can tell if someone's an atheist, if someone's really sciencey and analytical, and you can tell if someone's a believer by their handwriting. I mean, you can tell if someone's telling, if someone's a liar. You can tell if someone's a theft. You can tell if someone spent time in prison. We call it the theft mark. It's in the books.
How long have you studied this?
Well, a couple of years.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
And so I heard about it a couple of years ago. I've really studied it really deeply, probably for the last 12 months.
Yeah. So do they have stuff for each letter in the alphabet?
So there's different books and different, every letter has a different meaning. And you can see like the big picture. You can see how hard someone writes, how big their letters are, how small their letters are, the slant of the rights. I mean, Hitler used graphology. Hitler, how did he think he got all of those soldiers to walk in that gooseneck walk?
Yeah.
And people in our military, they need to be more emotional. They need to be less emotional and more, analytical. When you're in the armed forces and people who your handwriting changes. I was emotionally out of control. I was that washing machine full of stuff that was going nowhere, that wasn't getting cleaned.
Yeah.
I was way too emotional. And, you can tell a lot about someone by their handwriting.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
And so I could see in my handwriting, and I look back and I've thrown away a lot of when I first started doing this, I was saving my notebooks because I had notebook after notebook full of my handwriting and what I was doing. And I'm like, no, you got to throw that away. That's the past you got to let that go. And you can tell people you were there, but I had to throw it away. I had to get it out of my life. But I could see, oh my God, I was really emotional. I was really controlled and controlling. And certain letters, I was really judgmental. Nobody wants to do business with someone who's judging them.
Yeah.
You want to be around people who are our Bible says, judge not and be not judged. Yeah. Wow, you came here to learn a lesson. You came here to experience something. How can we help you? How can we support you to learn that lesson so that you can experience that, so you can learn another lesson instead of being, oh, look at that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that we need to stop judging each other. And, because I was so judgmental, and I was so judgmental to the point where people didn't want to work with me when I was doing my nutrition work, because I had gotten so rigid, and the self-hate had gotten so awful. And past clients would refer people to me, and we'd get on the phone and do a discovery call. And normally like if I got a referral, I'm like, oh yeah, that person's definitely going to work with me. And all of a sudden I was getting referrals and those people didn't want to work with me. They went and talked to other dietitians. I'm like, wait a minute, something's going on.
Yeah.
And that our life is a feedback system, and I had to make my life so miserable before I realized I really did loathe myself.
Yeah.
And all of these feedback systems it was me, it wasn't them.
Yeah.
And it was a hard look in the mirror.
Yes.
And I can now look at my handwriting and go, okay, I can see what I'm doing. And I could see the getting involved in the drama and the gossip of her story yesterday, and then just saying stop. And even though I stopped it and we corrected ourselves, and she's like, oh, thank you for caring enough about me. And you're right, the narrative needs to be, and we turned it around that, wow, you said no, and you only attract people who love and appreciate you. And the story, we totally changed the story around, but it showed up in my handwriting last night.
Yeah. I love the fact that you not blaming anybody. Sure, in the past when we all blamed it, but I think a big part of this and recovery and everything that you're saying is you're not pointing the finger at anybody. You're pulling the thumb, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's so great to have that self-awareness, because I think the second you stop blaming everybody and you think everything is your fault, you're going to grow.
Yeah, no. And when you take that, like, wow, this is the feedback system. What did I put out in the world? And it's beyond our words. And I think that, our schooling is all about words, and our marketing, like everything is all about words, and your blog and it's what's the energy, and the people who have their conscious and subconscious aligned, those are the people that are magnetic. Those are the people you want to be around. That's the person you call when you're like, wow, I learned something today and it was a big learn. That's the person you want to get on the phone with, or you want to send a text to and say, hey, I want to celebrate this with you. Or, hey, that's the person that you want to say, hey, I'm having this issue, I'm having this struggle. They're the one that's going to listen to you and say, okay, what do you think it is? They're the one that's going to actually be there with an open heart and not be judging you. Wow, this is really cool. This is an opportunity for learning, instead of going, oh, you dumb shit. Because trust me, we all do it. We all have that. We all have that in our heads.
Dude, and it's just, I'm relating all of this back to my story, and you're so right. There's so many similarities, and it's even my day to day. I was up this morning hanging out with my wife, and she had the news on, and I'm like, why are we watching this? Like this, I do not want to start my day with this negativity, and it was just like, I know that kind of stuff will permeate my subconscious. Right. And so instead of that, I'm like, let's put on some worship music, like let's do something that's going to put us in that place of like connection between that subconscious, like let's align ourselves, for the day. And you're doing it with handwriting and recognizing changes in your handwriting and letters and things like that. And, I would say more mine is like, I wake up in the morning and it's like, take a couple deep breaths. I get to hang out with my kids, and then we pray automatically. Like that's my way of setting the tone for my day, right? It's like, God, please use my words to impact people for a positive. And, I'll just don't help me not take in the things that are going to knock me off that track.
It's your words and your thoughts, but it's also, if you can change your handwriting, that I can watch that negative news and go, I'm going to leave you there.
Yeah.
Because it's fear.
Totally.
It's
Absolutely.
fear that controls us.
Absolutely.
And the fear is worse than the disease.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, fear is what controls us.
That's so true.
And when I can look at fear and go, oh, wow, that's fear, I don't have to play into that, because I know who I am and I know where I'm going.
Right.
I'm going to stand in my truth, and I'm going to allow this to flow through me. I have a mentor.
That's incredible.
And he's amazing. And someone can come in and be all with their pants in a wad and be in a drama. And I do reflexology. I do all these different things. I studied reflexology. And someone could come in. I was shadowing with him. Someone could come in and be like, "Oh, I'm all upset," and blah 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 blah. And he's steady. He's always the same. His breathing never changes. He listens. He's like, "All right, let's take care of it." He gets the person into the reflexology chair, and he stays. And you see the person that's. They start breathing like him, and they calm down, and then they take care of it. And our job is to stay steady and to stay in the flow. And the first thing we do in this life, we take a breath, and the last thing we do in this life is we let go of our breath. And when we're steady in our breath, when we can be steady and go, okay, whoa, that could have taken my breath away, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to be steady. And when I'm steady in my handwriting is when I show up and I am the flow. I'm not in the flow. I am the flow. And I saw this in my reflexology teacher. He's always the flow. And he's a pastor. He's a Christian. He's out in Pete's, Colorado, which is between Sterling and Sydney, Nebraska. Farm boy, amazing reflexologist. And I can go out there and shadow with him, and I learn so much. And I always know he is going to be the flow, and I'm going to join the flow. And that's what I want to be in my life for the people around me. And this handwriting has really helped me to measure where I'm at and how I'm showing up. And I mean,
I love this.
I can tell
now,
when I'm lying to myself, like someone invites me somewhere and I feel like I have to go because it's an obligation, and I can see that I'm lying to myself about going and doing this, and I'm like, oh, there's a lie mark in my handwriting. Where's this coming from? I'm like, oh, I can see that. Not lying all the time, but I can see like, why is there? I'm like, what's that lie mark about? And I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this. You just need to let them know. You can't participate. Like, this is just, I mean, like for me, we all want to please people. At least I am. I'm a people pleaser. And so the ability to go, I know where that lie mark's coming from, and I need to fess up, and I need to say, hey, I really shouldn't be doing this. This doesn't work for me.
See, and that's what I love about this. It's a personal trigger system, right? Of like checks and balances. Like, my wife is my sounding board, right? Probably not the best sounding board from time to time, because I can be a real jerk to her, and it's not until she has the balls to be like, hey, what the hell is your problem? That I'm like, oh, maybe I'm in this place of like, I'm being super arrogant, or I'm not listening to her opinion, or whatever, and it's like having something like this to where I can be like, okay, I can look at that and be like, oh, my anxiety is like way up here, or hey, I'm super stressed out. That's probably why I'm talking to you the way that I am, whatever. This is awesome, because it gives me that opportunity to look at it and analyze myself, right?
It's a way of analyzing yourself, and it's a way of changing yourself, and it's slow. Change doesn't happen fast, and we're on a planet that's moving, and it's moving really slow right now. And the sun rises and sets in a different place every day, whether we can see it or not, even if it's just a tiny nano of a difference. And that universal change doesn't happen fast. It happens slow and steady. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. Our moon is full. It waxes, it wanes. And this is a slow way. And it's a way you have to want it.
Totally.
You have to do your own work, but this is a way for you to monitor yourself without heavy technology, without spending thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And it's a way that, the pen is mightier than the sword. There's someone from like the 18th century that wrote that, and someone thought, I don't think it's Shakespeare. I can't remember the name.
I know. I've definitely heard the quote before. I'll look it up.
But that it's a way.
Celebrity Jeopardy with that.
Yeah, Celebrity Jeopardy. It's a way for us to monitor how we are and to change ourselves. And again, you can't make too many changes too fast.
Yeah.
And you know that going through recovery. But if you get 1% every day, and so this is a slow, steady way of changing that can make an impact in your life and an impact in the lives of people around you.
And this is a good practice too, right? Like, this is something tangible that, listener, you can do. I would say this probably requires a pretty decent, I don't know, maybe not. I was going to say it kind of requires like it's a huge action step, right?
You have to have some discipline to do it. It's not for everybody.
Exactly.
I mean,
and then you kind of have to have a good idea of like, I don't know. For me, like, I always say, like, I'm always in my head, right? Like, I know how I feel all the time. Like, and I can tell you in a second, right? My wife, on the other hand, she has no idea.
How you feel, or how
she feels, and it's like sometimes, or maybe she struggles to like put that stuff into words, but that's where it's like it almost seems to me like I could do this and say I write out T's, and it's like I'm highly anxious, so I'm writing them super fast, you know, and I could see here and there. Like, I'm the kind of person that could sit down and be like, okay, yeah, that did that. Like, like I could see where, you know, the T is probably not as high. That like I can break that down, right? Like I don't know if my wife would be able to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to break this down and look at that, you know, and so I'm saying, like, do you think that it requires a high level of personal like awareness?
No, I think it requires discipline. And so, like, I wake up in the morning, I'm making my coffee. If anybody lived with me, I'd drive them crazy. I listen to Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World while I'm making my
I
coffee,
love that song.
turn it off, sit down with my cup of coffee, and I do my handwriting. And I can't have caffeine after a certain time in the morning. So if in midday I need more energy, I do the teas. And when you're going through addiction detox, having energy to detoxify your body and having energy to live life. Everybody has an energy crisis today, it seems. Like it's something that our bodies don't have. Like, we don't have energy. So that's why I gave tea. Tea's the first thing. And if someone can see, wow, just by writing these teas, I have good consistent energy, like that's a good hook to get someone like, wow, maybe I should be more curious about this.
Right.
Do I want to hire this woman to help me with graphology?
Right.
But that, I wanted to give things, raising your self-esteem, raising your self-worth, but raising your physical energy. Wow, I had more energy to go on that walk, or wow, I had more energy to hang out with my kids and play an extra whatever you're playing with your kids. Or I had good consistent energy all day. I got more done today than not because she gave me an exercise for energy, because everybody wants more energy, and more monster drinks and more caffeine is not the solution. It's not a good energy to have. But if you can do your teas, if you can do 100 teas and say, wow, I did that for a week, and I think I got more done this week and I did have more energy. Like, I'm giving your audience things that you can see a big difference in your life. The D's, you're not like, oh, I ran into someone that I've known for a long time and they did something really mean to me years ago, and I ran into them and I didn't hold that grudge. That's that D. I let go of that grudge. I'm not carrying that backpack full of rocks.
Right.
So the E is about being open to new things and learning and doing new things. So the letters that I picked today to share with you and your audience are things. The T, 100%. If you only do one letter and start doing the T and monitoring your energy levels through the day. And if you do that too late in the afternoon, you won't be able to go to sleep and you'll be cursing me. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, I told you. You don't have the antidote for you. And there is an antidote for it, but it's, but playing with that. Oh, yeah. We're going to something. I need to be up till, 1 or 2 or 12. I go to bed early. I'm an older person. I'd like to be in bed by 9, but I'm up at 5 or 6.
Oh my gosh. 9 is way too late. I'm in bed by 8:30.
Are you?
Yeah.
Dude, my kids are still running around at 8:30.
Oh man.
And so, if I know I'm going someplace and I need to stay up late, I'll do my teas at 3 p.m. so I can stay up late. I have the energy to stay up late. And I'm like, I don't need to eat anything. I can just do a page full of teas. And I'm like, wow, I have good energy. And so again, the things that I picked for your audience today and for you guys to play with are things that the energy is just, the first time I did my teas too late at night, I couldn't get to sleep. I was up till 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff really does work.
That's amazing. I got to pick up my wife from the airport next Sunday at 11 o'clock at night.
There you go.
And I've already thought about, like, oh my God, I can't fall asleep because if I'm out, I'm out.
Got to tee yourself up, man.
Yeah, get teed up.
I love it.
And so, again, I'm giving you things to play with. Yeah. It's more complicated than, it's more complicated. And again, you can't change more than 3 things at once. When I started doing this, I was really enthusiastic. And the woman that I was working with, she really had to slow me down. She's like, you're confusing your subconscious mind. You're doing way too much. And so it's a process. Yeah. And again, we're on a moving planet. We're moving slow and steady. This is, these are some of the things that we can't change. And so this is a slower process, but it is a process. And when you feel the difference, it does make you're impacted.
Yeah. So it's probably one of those things that's like, maybe you won't see a result immediately, right? That's the discipline
with
piece.
The teas, I saw the difference immediately.
Yeah.
I'm
really interested to try this. I really am. I think it's interesting. And honestly, it seems a little weird
Oh, it's totally
on
weird.
the onset.
But I mean, like I said, you can Google or you can go to ChatGPT,
Yeah.
look up graphology.
But
there's a history of it.
You explain it though, it makes sense. It's putting it's putting the person in a place of like, you're focusing on you, right? Your mind, like what you're doing, how you're feeling, what's coming through you. I love that. And I think that that's where, if you like, it's flexing a muscle, right? If you want to get bigger, you go work out, right? So you're flexing that muscle of like, okay, who am I? And doing it through handwriting and looking and analyze your handwriting. And I think it's awesome.
It's fun. It's fun. And there's a salesperson I worked with that wrote really tall up and down and really packed everything. And there was no white surface on his page. We were at a class together and he's like, well, what do you see in my handwriting? I'm like, there's no room for anybody else. I'm like, you're so smart. You're a lifelong learner. You could see it in his handwriting. You're a lifelong learner, but there's no room for anyone else. And you just throw up all this information on people and their eyes roll back in their head and you lose the sale because they're like, oh my God, this was overwhelming. I can't do any of this because you just like fire hosed them. And he looked at me and he's like, oh my God, you're right. You saw that in my handwriting? And I'm like, yeah, like what's on that page needs to be on 3 or 4 pages. Like you're giving too much information too fast. And we need to meet people where they're at. And just because you're a lifelong learner and you can't eat an elephant in one bite. And that's what his handwriting showed me. And he was like, oh my God.
Dude, there is a kid that I work with that let me borrow one of his notebooks. And he's that guy. Like way too much information on the onset, right? And in car sales. And like, I think it does overwhelm people from time to time. But I've noticed, like, I'm thinking about looking through like his notebook that he gave me. He literally, there's probably 60 pages filled out. That's all car information. Just facts about every single car that we sell. And it's wild to like think about. And I even looked at him like, my gosh, dude, like how long did this take you? But that's the kind of guy he is. He's got to pack all that information into his brain, because he thinks that that's what makes him valuable. But I'm like, dude, really, at the end of the day, that's just a tool, right? You need to get good at
the communication, meeting the person where they're at.
Boom.
You don't just want to vomit all that information on them.
It's a great tool and it's great to have. And when I need help, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what the tow capacity is on this vehicle. I go to that guy because he knows all of it.
But is he making the sales he wants to make?
No, and that's the thing. No, I think that
so
he's in
like
that
like
place.
That's why like again, my keynote is about selling. You sell to your kids. You sell to all parts of your life. You're selling to your wife. When we're kind and we're nice to people out in the world, we're selling to them because we're communicating.
That's so good.
We sell ourselves anytime we show up somewhere. And
it's just so like you just this conversation is putting my brain in a much different place.
You can see things from a different point of view. Now, I have a girlfriend who's in the legal industry, and you can see in her handwriting, like she is so specific and so detailed. Yeah. And if you ever do anything for her, you better make sure you do it right because she's going to correct you. She is like the eagle eye, and you can see it in her handwriting. And I love her, and we have a very good rapport.
She has good handwriting.
Her handwriting shows how smart she is and how pinpoint, like she notices everything, and you can see it in her handwriting. And I knew when I got her handwriting, I knew she was in the legal field, and I'm like, boy, she's going to catch every mistake anyway. Like she's in the right field because she's using her gift for what she needs to be using it for. Yeah. And you can see it in her handwriting.
Yeah. That is so cool. I'm plugged into this, man. Like every time can you see it? It's got to be handwritten though.
I can see things with printing. It's easier with cursive. I mean, you can definitely tell things by printing.
I'm talking about like, what about typing?
No.
Okay.
It needs to be pen to paper.
Okay.
I can't.
That makes sense because it's coming through you, right?
It's coming through you.
Yeah. And a keyboard is kind of like cuts that off,
But you've received that text or that email from someone where they're screaming at you and it's just typed out. You can feel like it's the energy behind the words. Right, okay. Right. We all know. And yeah, when you write in all capitals, you're yelling at someone, but the tone of someone's text or their email, the energy comes through and you know what they're saying. And there's a lot of miscommunications that happen because someone might be angry when they write this and they're sarcastic, and the other person's like, all right, well, what do you mean? And that's how fights happen. But that energy that you're picking up on, it's more than just the words that come out of our mouths.
What does the term lost in translation mean to you?
Well, it's a lot. There's a lot of it around with all the social media and there's a lot of things lost in translation today, and you can say anything online, whether it's true or not. Part of why I wanted to stop doing nutrition work is everybody wants me to sell their snake oil. And just because they have good marketing doesn't mean that it actually works in your body. And
Right.
so, there's a lot of things in today's world that's lost in translation, and that we need to be more aware of ourselves and the people around us. And when we come from that point of view, when we know who we are, we're aware of who we are, and we're aware of the people around us, and we're aware that everybody's doing the best that they can right now and they're trying to learn a lesson, I think that we make the world a better place.
Yeah. For me, lost in translation means that you lost the connection.
Mm.
And it's just like, I can communicate with my wife without words because I'm connected to her, right? And I think through COVID, we lost that connection. We were told to isolate ourselves. The entire world shut down, and we were told to go be alone. That is not human nature. That is the exact opposite of what God, I feel, intended for us as people. And
we were told to be alone, and the liquor store and the pot stores were allowed to be open, but we weren't allowed to go worship.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think about that, and I love this topic because it's connection, right? And it's true connection, and it's slowing down, and it's putting yourself in other people's shoes, right?
Well, it's slowing down and connecting with yourself. Like, what's the feedback system of you? Because self-knowledge is really the key to showing up for someone else. Wow, my breath is changing because what they're saying is making me feel uncomfortable. I need to slow down. This is their story. It's not my story. This is their lesson. They came to learn. I don't need to be a part of the story. I just need to support them, knowing my place in the world and staying in the flow.
That's incredible. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but honestly, I would love to put you back on our calendar for the end of the summer. And I think I love this stuff.
So let's get the PDF going.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then if we can get some feedback from you guys as you guys play with your handwriting.
Yeah, totally. What I like about this is so different and unique. And I think to someone trying to get sober, sobriety is going to be different and unique. And what we're trying to do on this by bringing everybody's stories together is learn the different ways of how to get yourself right and connect with yourself. So you're a perfect hero of this story because I think this is so far out there and so simple and easy to do that I really feel like a lot of people listening right now are going to benefit from this. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm trying to eventually I want to put together like a sobriety journal. That's just for like a 40-day journal post sobriety. You start it when you get out of rehab or whatever, just to keep people connected to that. But I think this would be a cool practice to have inside of that,
Yeah, no, I think that these letters would be good letters to put in.
Before we go if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, and sit down and do this, how would they find you?
So right now, LinkedIn is the best place. And my LinkedIn profile is Teresa Rose Armijo. I'm in Colorado.
If you text me a link to it, we'll put it on the podcast.
Okay. And it's on that sheet I gave you.
Oh, the other one?
Anyway, you've got it.
Okay,
this
perfect.
Is how you can get a hold of me.
We'll put all of this in the episode. We'll make them clickable links.
Okay. And you can text me, but I do have my phone number out there.
Okay.
You can text me and just say, I'm interested in working with you. Because sometimes if it's an unknown text, I don't answer.
I'm the same way. Yeah, make sure you're specific.
It's better to go through LinkedIn because I have a Calendly, and you can get on the calendar. We can talk for a half hour. That's the easiest way if people want to get a hold of me. But you can text me. And again, I want to speak. I want to get out there. I want people to start thinking in a different way.
Yeah.
That you have control over this.
Absolutely. Well, guys, Teresa Rose Armijo, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this amazing perspective. I love what you're doing. I think it's so interesting, and I'm actually excited to try it and see how it permeates in my life. But yeah, we just want to say thank you. And if anybody's interested, we'll put some links in here on how to reach out to Teresa.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you. Thank you for being real. I think for a long time we were all pretending that we didn't have problems and issues, and we can learn from one another. And
absolutely.
So, I think that's what's great about this. We are all real. We all have our lessons. We all have our cross that we carry. And the more we're real and the more we're honest about who we are and where we're from, the more we can help each other. And so, hooray, I say.
That's so true. So true. And that's why I tell my wife, everybody around me all the time, just be who you are. Plug in the way that God made you. And wow, that's awesome.
Our society's not set up for that. So we're the disruptors.
Exactly. Let's go destigmatize everything, right? Aaron, what do you got, buddy?
God bless everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank
you guys so much for listening, supporting us. This has been such a fun project, and we love you guys. We're proud of you, the ones that are making the decisions to get sober, make better decisions. I've had multiple conversations with people that are starting that journey. So we're seeing the ripple effect, of what we're doing here, and it feels good. So reach out to us, please. We'd love our audience interaction. We'd love to answer questions. We'd love to get you on the calendar if you want to share your story. So just interact with us on social media, and you can also email us privately, questions, things like that, if you want to stay anonymous, at shattereddarkness5@gmail.com. Thank you again, everybody, for your support, and we will see you soon.